Good morning. We interrupt our regular program to bring you an item of breaking political news. We gather that several members of the top brass of the opposition People's National Party have resigned, and resigned with immediate effect. Tonna Thomas is in studio with the statement coming from those members of the PNP hierarchy. Tonna, are you ready?
Yes, I am. So, breaking news, as you said, Cliff, the People's National Party's vice presidents, Damien Crawford, as well as Wickham McNeil and Michael Phillips, and party chairman Philip Powell have resigned their positions with immediate effect. That release just came in a short while ago to our news center. Vice President Michael Phillips, who was recently nominated, has also decided to withdraw his nomination to be a vice president. And the statement also says they had engaged the wider leadership of the party in good faith negotiation to avoid a further widening of the internal rift, they're calling it, recognizing that the party leader had declared publicly that the party could not countenance another divisive internal election at this time, or divisive. They said they arrived at this decision today, recognizing the risk of another internal election before the wounds of the last presidential elections were adequately healed. They said the discussion with the party continued for more than 3 weeks, with some officers volunteering to step aside for the sake of unity. However, they concluded that the sincerity of certain members of the leadership was not forthcoming, and that the minimalist effort towards unity was a charade, and that is why they are pursuing this move. And they said it's a genuine pursuit of unity. And they also said in the statement that despite all the reasonable efforts to broker a platform of unity, there were otherwise covert attempts, they're calling it, to sabotage the goal of peace and harmony, with a plan to hoard the available positions in line with the previous public statements made by the leader, who they said, Cliff and Mark, pronounced a lack of trust for persons who did not support him in his campaign leadership, and his preference to surround himself with only individuals who overtly endorsed his candidacy. And the final sentences of the statement, they say, therefore, to continue their sincere efforts to preserve their beloved party, which has served this nation well and has been at the forefront of much of its development, they have decided to resign from their current positions and return to their efforts towards rebuilding the constituency organizations. They said the most recent Achilles heel of the PNP has been the disunity that has plagued the party, and this level of disunity has deepened since the most recent internal election, where the victor has seemingly not acknowledged that unity is ultimately the responsibility of the victorious. They further believe that the disunity and display of underhandedness have crippled the spirit and effectiveness of the Unity Committee, and despite this unfortunate development, they are committed to the continued progress of the party. To that end, they say they will work to advance the constituency organizations and develop ideas, policies, and programs around which the society can come together to address these issues and serve the Jamaican people. And of course, at the end of it, Cliff and Mark is signed Damien Crawford, Vice President, Wickham McNeil, VP as well, Michael Phillips, VP, and Philip Powell, Party Chairman.
Thank you very much, Tonna Thomas. Mark Wignall, you are a veteran political analyst and watcher of Jamaican politics. This is virtually unprecedented in the modern political history of Jamaican politics. The party chairman, three of the four vice presidents deciding to resign with immediate effect. Mark Wignall, this is civil war now.
Cliff, this is a near mortal body blow to the opposition PNP. But I say, if this is to happen, this is the best time for it to happen. You and I know that parties don't do very well when they're in opposition. And it tends to, the longer they stay in opposition, and the more dire the political party believes its near future is going to be, then it will continue to face these near mortal body blows. to actually chart a course ahead now for the PNP. Man, that is a difficult case,
Well, let me tell you what we are learning since we started tracking the latest civil war, outbreak of civil war in the PNP yesterday morning into the afternoon. This is what we have been learning, listeners, Mark. There was an understanding, yes, that at the party's annual conference set for September, there would have been a balanced slate of 4 vice presidents in pursuit of unifying the 2 factions in the party, the Mark Golding faction and the 1 PNP faction of the former leader, Dr. Peter Phillips. And it is our reporting that that balanced slate would involve Wickham McNeil, Michael Phillips from the 1 PNP faction, Donna Scott Motley, and the mayor of Spanish Town, Norman Scott, would come in. Apparently, it was somehow suggested that Donna Scott Motley would be acceptable to both factions. And Scott is seen as in support of Mark Golding. Somewhere along the line, that did not hold. And that started to fall apart when Ian Hales, the former MP for Western Hanover, Eugene Kelly, the councillor in Dr. Angela Brown Burke's Southwest St. Andrew constituency, and Mayor Scott were nominated yesterday, or day before yesterday. And according to all reporting, the leader was asked what's happening here, and based on all sources, he said there was no such understanding. Now, I gather for several hours yesterday, via conference call and Zooms and consultations, the 1 PNP faction have been huddling, yes, via, as I said, Zoom and conference calls, and it was agreed that based on the breaking of that understanding, well, the Golding faction is going for broke. It is said that they have been in control of the Secretariat under the leadership of the General Secretary, Dr. Dayton Campbell, and that they have somehow been strengthening their political muscle through the formation of groups where delegates are concerned. And according to some sources, they have formed well in excess of 500 groups, strengthening the hand of the party leader, Mark Golding, going into the annual conference and the elections for vice presidents and other critical leadership positions in the core of the party. That is a big calculation, I gather, because they're not only stronger at the delegates level. Remember, Mark Golding defeated Lisa Hanna by just over 300 votes 7 months ago in November. Yes. So they would have strengthened their position, yes, going into the elections. And apparently, the Golding people have decided that they are wanting to take full control of the party and its organs. Hence, they are pressing ahead with a regional election and conferences. The PNP has 6 regions, and they're pressing ahead, and it is felt that they're slowly, taking full control of the party, and the 1 PNP faction is seeing the writing on the wall. Damien Crawford has stepped back. He's not seeking re-election. Wickham McNeil, I gather, would have stayed on if the understanding was kept. Now that that is off the table, he's decided to go. Michael Phillips, who I gather up until last night, yes, having agreed to this strategy, was wobbling this morning. He has apparently now come on board, and this is now to jolt the leadership, yes, because the party is at this moment deeper into this bitter, divisive civil war, frankly. That's what it is.
Yes, Cliff. And in all of that strategy designed to strengthen the hand of Mark Golding, what is actually coming out in the public wash is that he's going to be seen as a failure. He's going to be seen as the man who has shepherded this, well, some people are starting to call it a calamity.
It is. It is. That's what it is. It is a catastrophe that has rocked the People's National Party. How are they going to come back after this? And I can tell you, Mark, it could get worse.
Yes, because things things like this tend to get worse.
Watch the 13 members of Parliament in the opposition benches. Watch that closely.
Mm-hmm.
Will Mark Golding survive as leader of the opposition? Does he have a majority in terms of support, and does he enjoy the confidence of the majority of the 13 opposition MPs in the House of Representatives? Watch that space.
Yes, interesting, Cliff.
But this is, I can't recall, during the years of the Labour Party wars.
Oh, it went through hell and back.
Yes.
Mostly hell.
Yes. But have we ever, Mark, think with me, seen in one fell swoop 3 vice presidents, 3 of the 4 vice presidents, the chairman going?
No, I can't recall ever seeing that happening. And, you have to say to yourself, how does Golding survive this? Because one of the considerations that must have been floating around in his mind, in his brain, is that he didn't want to be seen as irrelevant as the leader which was there before him.
Yes.
He doesn't want to be seen as Peter Phillips Part 2.
Listen to the language used in this statement issued to the media. Despite all the reasonable efforts to broker a platform of unity, there were otherwise covert attempts to sabotage the goal of peace and harmony with a plan to hoard the available positions in line with previous public statements made by the leader, who pronounced a lack of trust for persons who did not support him in his campaign leadership, and his preference to surround himself with only individuals who overtly endorsed his candidacy.
Well, it is apparent to me that all of what has taken place is making it seem as if the weight of leadership on Mark Golding is proven to be too much.
Yes, they go on to say the level of disunity has deepened since the most recent internal election, where the victor has seemingly, and this is in capital letters,
yes,
listeners, has seemingly not acknowledged that unity is ultimately the responsibility of the victorious.
And I tell you something, in Eddie Siaga's time when that Helen back situation was on, at least what he had was spies all over.
Yes.
But it seems as if it's either that Mr. Mark Golding is too pure or he's too naive.
And his political inexperience,
yes,
is being exposed badly. Yes. If you have been in the politics, you've been following it. Portia Simpson Miller, defeated by P.J. Patterson in 1992. One of Portia's most ardent and strident supporters, P.J. critic, the late Donald Buchanan. Yes, Patterson went out of his way in an effort to mend the fractures, the fissures,
yes,
the cracks that had appeared, by ensuring that he had Donald Buchanan back in his cabinet. And campaigned for him vigorously to hold on to Southwest St. Elizabeth, which was always a very competitive seat. Yes, the PNP has recent history to teach, to learn from, and they're clearly not learning from it.
Yes, and if it becomes a major concern among PNP supporters that even if Mark Golding survives this present bout of calamity, what process does he use to cement himself a little bit more and to eventually take full hold of the leadership of the party? That is what I cannot see.
I don't see how it's going to be a long, arduous road back from this, especially with this move this morning by the chairman. If you're just joining us, listeners, the chairman of the People's National Party, Philip Paulwell, MP for East Kingston and Port Royal, 3 of the 4 vice presidents, namely Wickham McNeil, Damian Crawford, and Michael Phillips, have resigned from their positions with immediate effect, accusing the leadership of Mark Golding of sabotaging, yes, covertly sabotaging efforts to pursue unity in the party. That's the situation at this hour.
This is one to watch, Cliff.
Big time.
And that's what we're going to be doing.
Absolutely, Mark. Good.
All right, all the best.
All the best.